Today we're going to rank every single evolution in Clash Royale from worst to best. When I'm ranking the evolutions, I'm looking at win percentage, use percentage, especially in the top 1000 on ladder, and versatility, as well as factoring in a little bit how well these cards are in other places in the arena. So starting off with the worst evolution in the game, the Goblin Drill. The problem with the Goblin Drill is there's many things wrong with it. One, the Goblin Drill decks have a ton of different better evolutions, including Ice Spirit, sometimes Tesla, Skeletons, especially the Evo Snowball recently, and overall the drill just doesn't provide that much extra. If somebody counters a drill, that counter to the drill is most likely going to deal with the entire rest of the evolved drill. At number 31 is the Dart Goblin. A lot of people argue the Dart Goblin is better, but in order for him to get his ability off, one, he has to survive, and two, he has to shoot something like 9 or 10 times. Realistically, that almost never happens, which results in his extremely low 1% use rate, and the win rate isn't very good either. At number 30 is the Wizard. The problem with the Wizard is he comes along with the normal Wizard. That's the problem. You have to actually put a Wizard in your deck, and that's never a good thing. The other 5 elixir evolutions like the Witch and the Exy are miles better than him. Every other ranged support troop evolution can be better than him as well, and you're really just not going to see too much value from the Wizard except to survive against certain spells. It's just not really good in the meta right now. So at 29 is the P.E.K.K.A. The P.E.K.K.A. did just get a little bit of a buff, but everybody and their mother is using the Witch right now, so obviously that's not good as well. On top of the fact that it got like 3 back-to-back nerfs that really killed it, it still hasn't recovered yet. At 28 is the Battle Ram. Now I know that the Battle Ram can get a ton of value and win a lot of games, but the problem is it is very hard to use and get value out of the Battle Ram consistently. Most of the time it just ends up dying or getting countered really easily, and a ton of like really good bridge spam players will even get barely any value out of it sometimes. So if they're not getting value out of it, the casuals and normal players aren't going to get it either, and they don't, which is why it's one of the lowest picked and lowest win percentage evolutions in the game. Next up is the Bomber evolution. Now this thing, it really fell off, like really fell off. The problem kind of being that Bomber just kind of fell out of the meta. Nobody really uses it anymore. It's still something that like if you have a Bomber evolution in your deck, it will do good, it will work. The problem is the Bomber just isn't in most decks in the game. You'd rather have Firecracker, or you'd rather have something else like maybe Goblins or Guards, and Bomber is kind of that card that you would maybe use instead of the Guards, and in the meta we've had now, it's just Prince and Boss Bandit, and you need Guards basically, and most decks won't be able to fit something like a Bomber and Guards together. So Bomber, not really a bad evolution, he's just not in the meta as a card right now. At 26 is the Goblin Giant. Now, the Goblin Giant evolution, it can be extremely powerful, but is currently being countered by the meta. You don't see Goblin Giant having too much success. Obviously, every now and then you'll run into a Goblin Giant player, and they might steamroll you if you don't have the right answer, but the evolution itself isn't too strong. It did get nerfed pretty heavily and has stayed in the bottom 10 to 15 ever since it's got that nerf where it was just running circles around everybody in the P.E.K.K.A. God Giant meta. At number 25 is Tesla. Tesla has seen a little bit of an increase in viability because the cannon got nerfed and the Tesla got buffed. It's still miles worse than the cannon. The cannon is like just I won't spoil anything, but the Tesla has gotten better and has seen a little bit more use rate and win percentage as well. And part of this is helping, obviously, that Expo is in the meta and is doing really good, but it is viable in other decks as well and has seen an increase in use rate in things like Hog and other cycle decks as well. Next up is the Wall Breakers. The problem with the Wall Breakers, they do have a pretty high use rate, actually 9% in the top 1000, but the Wall Breakers just really, it's very, it feels very like niche, the Wall Breakers do. They're good in certain decks and only certain decks. You can't just slap Wall Breaker Evo in your deck and have success with it, which is a big impact in the ranking, in my opinion. Wall Breakers only in a select few decks, and even then, you could probably get away with not even using them, and some people do, so. Next up, we have the Electro Dragon, and this is where I think we have to look a little deeper than the stats. Obviously, the stats are showing right now that the E-Drag sits between a 3 to 4% use rate in the top 1000, which is there's a little bit more to that. Yes, it's not that great, but more of it's not that versatile. You can't just throw the E-Dragon in the majority of decks in the game. It's going to sit in beatdown, and in beatdown it serves a very, very nice role, but it is not oppressive right now. You've seen people find ways to counter it. You've seen the decks that have E-Drag in it be very like polarizing, like you either 100-0 or you 0-100. There's not a ton of like room for the E-Drag to be really good or really bad. It's just sitting there in beatdown decks. It's doing good in beatdown decks, but those are not great decks right now. At 22, we have the Musketeer. She's pretty solid. She does usually get some decent value out of the ability, but she's knocked down a lot by the fact that you can't consistently guarantee you're going to get value out of the Musk. A lot of the problem with the Evo Musketeer is you need to cycle it. Like, decks that use Musketeer need to cycle Musketeers. 2.6, 2.9, like minor Loon cycle. Those are some of the things that come to mind. And the Musketeer Evo just like counterintuitively does not want you to cycle it. You don't want to cycle it. You want to wait for the right opportunity to use it to snipe something. And if you have to play it normally, you're not going to get value out of the ability, which just ruins the evolution. And you're like, why am I even using this? So you'll go use Ice Spirit or Skellies instead. 21 is the Firecracker. Everybody's super annoying card to go against, especially if you don't have the right answer. But if you do have the right answer, it's just not a pain at all. You just arrows it. Yeah, but the Firecracker, it can be super annoying. The problem being that it's also really squishy, so it's a very nice balance of, you know, this card can get value and you can outcycle your opponents and outplay them with it, but at the same time, it's also really easy to misplay. It's really easy to not, you know, just not have it get any value because you get arrowed over and over again. So it's going to see a lot of strength in cycle decks, but outside of that, it's not going to be the strongest evolution at all. At 20 is the Mega Knight. Now I know, oh my god, the Mega Knight, how is it at 20? It's the most broken Evo thing. If you know how to counter the Mega Knight, and if you do a good job at not giving your opponents counter pushes, that's half the battle right there, maybe even more than half the battle. The problem with the Mega Knight is people overcommit on their pushes, get Mega Knighted, have no elixir, get dual lane pushed, or have no elixir to deal with the Mega Knight, and then just get curb stomped. That's not the Mega Knight being that strong, that's your offense being weak. And of course, there's certain spots where the Mega Knight's going to be really good and impressive, but that's just the nature of the card, and it's not a bad evolution at all. It's just definitely not as good as some people say it is just because you play into their hands. At number 19 are the Barbs. They have seen a massive uptick in use rate and win percentage. How are the Barbs ahead of the Mega Knight? Well, in terms of top 1000 win percent and use rate, they are currently higher, and they're currently being used in more decks like Beatdown, especially Lava Hound, as well as Golem and Bridge Spam as well. So being in 3 pretty strong decks is a good, like, just indicator that the evolution is pretty healthy and doing well. But obviously, if you have the right cards and you maybe even have the right hand, Barbarians won't be a problem, so that's why they don't get like extremely high value all the time, landing them at 19. At 18 is the Goblin Barrel evolution, and anybody telling you this is a top 5 evolution in the game is biased and wrong. The stats show that this is a pretty honestly balanced evolution. It does really help log baits, and I mean, it's only in log bait. It used to be in recruits and now is no longer in recruits. Goblin Barrel is strong as an evolution, but it's balanced as well, and bait is not oppressive in the meta right now. I thought maybe bait as a play style is, but specifically Goblin Barrel bait is not. At 17 is the Lumberjack. His nerf to his cycles was pivotal, and this makes him a balanced evolution that, although is still very strong in certain circumstances, you no longer need to worry about 4 of them a game, and he's just going to get good value consistently. He's going to be a rather versatile card that you're going to see be able to fit into maybe bridge spam, beatdown decks, probably not anything else. Lumberloon, I guess, obviously, but the Lumberjack Evo, a good solid nerf, put him at pretty much halfway through the pack. Archers have gotten way better, and I'm happy to see it because the Archers have been an evolution that have been pretty dirt poor recently, but have gotten a lot better. Also, mainly, thank you, Expo, has boosted both the Archers and the Tesla up in the rankings. And the Archers are really, I mean, they're used in E-Golem too. They're used in Expo. They're used in a few other decks. They are pretty strong if you can arrows bait, because if your Archers just don't instantly die, which is the problem, kind of like the Firecracker, they're going to get so much value, and you can probably Archers bait or arrows bait with Archers a little better than the Firecracker, which is why they'll be a little bit higher than the Firecracker. Skeletons are a solid, strong evolution evolution you're going to find in a ton of cycle decks, and the reason they're not higher is because they do struggle a little bit to get value most of the time. The thing is, anytime they do anything, they are getting value because they're one elixir, right? But the problem is, you know, we've all seen how good Evo Skeletons used to be back in the day, and now they're just that threat that has gone down a couple of levels. There's still something you have to worry about, but not something that you have to worry about nearly as much as you did before, and you still have to place them pretty well to actually get good value out of them. At number 14 is Snowball, rejuvenated by the fact that Evo Snowball Drill and Evo Snowball Expo are some of the craziest combos we've ever seen. What's kind of funny to me is in some of the main Snowball decks in the game, you actually don't want the Snowball Evo. It's a little bit of a interesting Evo because, like, in minor loon it literally negatively impacts you, so you don't want to use it. But in things like Giant Graveyard, it helps you get to the tower, helps suck up the air counters, the ground counters, whatever you need, the graveyard counters. It's just a really fun card, and the outplay potential is through the roof, which has made it go up a ton of ranks. At 13 we have the Bats. Now the Bats are extremely good right now. Royale API rates them a top 5 evolution in the game. They are really strong, really versatile. They help you bait, spell bait. They get so much extra value, and the decks that Bats are good in are really good in the meta right now, including things like Mega Knight, including things like Mortar Bait. You're gonna see Bats do particularly well because they always force out you like an extra counter from you. You can't normally counter the Evo Bats with the thing you usually use to counter the normal Bats, which makes them very strong, and they're also really hard to misplay, so that's also pretty nice. At 12 we have the Knight. He is a stalwart. The Knight is very strong, and he is very versatile. He's going to get you that value in so many different decks. The Knight is just straight up a good card. He's going to help you on defense, he's going to help you on offense, and overall just a very strong, powerful, and versatile evolution. Pretty much nothing negative to say about him. He's not broken either. He's just a jack of all trades that can fit in a ton of different decks, making him just outside the top 10. Number 11 is our friend Diddy. Now Diddy is very strong because he can honestly just shift the entire game around. Your opponent has to constantly be thinking about Diddy, and that's never a good thing. But when Diddy is on the board, he's going to be able to counter win conditions by himself, counter anything, any win condition in the game. So you're going to need to build an entire game plan around getting past Diddy, and this makes the entire rest of Diddy's deck open up and start to do better. And overall, you can just see that the Diddy cage is very powerful, held back by the fact that there are other really good buildings in the game. So the Diddy won't get extremely like high usage rate and won't fit in every type of deck. Entering into the top 10, we have the Executioner evolution, who is very strong and has started to just completely turn the Exy from a dead card into a really powerful, pretty margin. See, the problem is, like, he's not broken. Like, I think he could probably use a nerf, but the Executioner is a card that's not versatile enough to see everybody just use him. You can't just throw him in any deck. So while he is a very strong evolution, the fact that he's a bit clunky is the only thing holding him back. At number 9, we have Mortar. Now, I am aware that the Mortar just had a bug where when you shot it at a tower, it was only getting 1 hit. It's back to getting 2 hits, and the Mortar is still strong in the meta. We haven't seen Mortar Bait leave the meta in, what, over a year? It's really powerful. The Mortar is extremely strong and good, and it's going to be an evolution that completely takes your deck to the next level. If you don't have it, the Mortar Bait's going to be bad, and I think that, you know, the fact that Mortar Bait is just so good right now is absolutely carrying Mortar's stats, and it's very strong evolution. Number 8 is the Royal Recruit, simply because I have seen people in the top 200 on TikTok playing on their computer. They literally play this card on their computer. It takes no placements. You don't need to know what you're doing. You just put it down and it wins games for you. You put the Royal Recruits down, you put the Goblin Gang down, you put the Skelly Bell, you put the Wall Breakers, or you put the Mighty Miner, and then you arrow as their counter, and then you win. That's just recruits for you, and that literally, it's so strong. It's so unbelievably strong. Obviously, you'll probably lose maybe to somebody running 6 splash cards, but like, come on. At number 7 is the brand new Witch evolution. The Witch evolution, extremely strong. However, the stats are kind of messed up right now because obviously it just came out. So everybody's going to try and use it, see how good it is. I expect it to definitely fall off a little bit, but the fact that the Witch is just a viable option now has made that, like, just shows that the evolution is really good. Obviously, making it really hard to kill the Witch is very annoying and gives the Witch an opportunity to do even more damage. And the fact that she got that splash buff a few months ago as well makes her a valid option and just adds to the fact that she's the number 7 evolution in the game. At number 6 is the Royal Giant evolution paired with his buddy the Hunter. They are the best evolution combo in the game. Royal Giant is dominating the meta right now. He is a big part of the top 1000. Don't shout out to the Monk too. Shout out to the Monk. The Monk is what's really cooking right now. But Royal Giant plus Monk plus Hunter is the best like trio in the game, and it is showing in the stats as well. Royal Giant is extremely strong, and I would highly recommend picking him up. If you can, pick him up right now. At number 5 is the Valkyrie Evo. She is so versatile and so strong. She can single-handedly stop pushes by herself. She can pull things in with her NATO on offense. You're going to see extreme amounts of success with the Evo Valk, and she can fit in any deck in the game, no matter what type of deck it is, which makes her a top 5 evolution in Clash Royale. At number 4 is the Hunter. He can literally turn entire games around and single-handedly nullify your opponent's counter to your deck, especially paired with the Royal Giant. He can stop things like the Evo Mega Knight, the Evo Valk, literally anything you name it. And on top of the fact that he just doesn't die to Fireball Zap anymore, makes him extremely strong. He is rather versatile as well. You could probably fit a Hunter in most decks in the game. You're going to see extreme amounts of success when you use the Hunter, and the stats reflect that. At number 3 is the Zap evolution. Now, I could argue this would go anywhere between 3 and maybe 6 or 7, but the Zap evolution is the second most popular Evo in the game and is really going to turn games around for you. Zap can turn games around because it kills things like Firecrackers, Dark Goblins, Minions, Minion Hordes. Paired with Fireball or another spell, it can kill things like Queens, like E-Dragons. The fact that it can do this it makes it a top 5 Evo in the game. Like, it's just unarguably a top 5 Evo in the game, and I'd argue top 3 because of all the things that you can kill with the Evo Zap that you couldn't normally kill, as well as the fact that it's fitting in so many decks right now. At number 2 is the staple to Cycle decks, the Ice Spirit. This thing will bail you out of so many circumstances, is a Cycle deck's go-to Evo, and given that Cycle is so strong right now, you're going to see the Ice Spirit at a massively high win percentage and use percentage. It's got a top 3 use rate in the game right now, and the Ice Spirit, for good reason, is one of the best evolutions in the game, second best according to the stats in my opinion. And at number 1, for what feels like the 3rd, 4th consecutive month, the Cannon evolution. Cannon is so versatile. It's going to be the go-to building for any deck in the game, except for certain decks would rather use Diddy, but the Cannon is so extremely strong. The barrage is going to open up things on offense, defense, allows you to kill things like Firecrackers on the other side of the board, and it is just a very strong, unbelievably, like, there's nothing that matches this evolution type strength, and the Cannon's just the best building in the game. So the base card really good, the evolution really good, means the best evolution in the game. Thank you for watching. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.